Okay, in this Sicilian game, we're going to swap it up, and I decided, as my opponent was much lower rated in this game, that I was going to go with a bit of a weird move order. E6 is the pure Taimanov. Queen C7 is kind of a backdoor into the Taimanov Sicilian. Doesn't make much of a difference, but I do find if I play Queen C7 immediately against players in a certain rating band that they're going to do something weird, like play knight B5 too quickly or something, and they get a creative or non-theoretical version of a Taimanov where that's exactly what you want to do when you're playing against lower rated players. If I can get you out of theory and into a position where you have to think, it's me versus you. And Master's definitely going to have the edge versus a class player in that type of situation. And this is one of my favorite lines in the Taimanov, and it's one of the first that a player should learn if they're going to play this. And I do have a lot of experience with the Taimanov Sicilian as I played it for a few years. Between 2016 and 2018, it was my main opening, and I have games in the database versus like Eric Hansen, for instance. At knight D to B5, we got to drop back to B8 and bishop E3. And I remember the first time seeing this plan by White in the Alabama Chess Antics, the quarterly magazine for the state affiliation. It was a game between Bill Melvin, who's a longtime master in Alabama, and Andy Reeder, who's 2100 rated player in the time period. And I believe it was like the 2003 Alabama State Championship or so, or maybe Queen of Hearts. I know it was one of the big tournaments. And this was published in the magazine, and the game really made an impression because I'm like, oh, what did he do wrong? Because you go A6 to try to kick the knight away, and then bishop B6. And for the people who've never seen this position before, like, black is completely fine here. Try to find the solution. So pause your video, take as much time as you need. Being aware of this, because I'd seen that game and then researched the best way to play, I knew this position, and I've actually had a number of games in this. So I was quite comfortable with black. So after bishop b6, all right, hopefully you had time to pause the video and figure it out. Well, first we're going to take. You go, well, I don't know. I don't see how I can hold on to everything. You don't. I already got one knight. We're going to do the I want all the minor pieces special. So now let's take stock. We have all the minor pieces against a queen, and the position is relatively closed. So I think a lot of chess players get uncomfortable with serious imbalances, we'll call them. And I really don't. I love these types of positions because I know that definitively one side's going to be better than the other. And if you've studied the position, and I have here, I understand that black's better. So I realized that my opponent just knew the trick and was playing for the trick because right here, his next move shows inexperience. Because Queen G4, I believe, is the best move, as black either needs to play King F8 or G6. And typically you go King F8, King G7, Knight F6, and D5. So I was aware of this line as I had played it a number of times before with success. But he played G3, and if you're not going to play Queen G4 and force me, I can go Knight F6 immediately and castle, which is going to save me time. And I know D5 needs to be played, but he's got more control over that square, so let's just go ahead and play Rook D8. And I was really happy to see the position close, as I don't see him taking any real risks here. A4. I'm like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and eye some key squares for the future. Make sure he can't go C4, and see if he'll do anything else to help us out. Rook f3. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go knight f8 because, you're not mating me with a knight on f8, and I still have my bishops can do work in the position. I'm also keeping an eye on the critical f5 square as we got the bishop working. Rook d3. Still can't play c4, still can't put any more tension there. So I've got time. Bishop d7. Now let's go ahead and go knight c4 because that's a good square for him. And just seeing if we can't coax a mistake. Coaxed a mistake. Opponent was a bit too relaxed. And the game ends very abruptly as I think my opponent realized that my technique is pretty solid here and I'm going to cause more and more pain to you, as this is one of those positions where the queen can't really be a queen as there's no weaknesses and no targets. So if you hated this position for black, you were very uncomfortable, I strongly recommend studying a few games in the database with it, as it's quite good for black. Queen can't be a queen. Get comfortable in those positions. Check out the Game of the Century, Byron Fisher, as you get the type of situation where the queen can't do anything. And those types of classical games, very inspiring to me. I love imbalances. So hopefully you enjoyed this game and the imbalance in it. If you did, like and subscribe. Thanks for your support.